Hello, everybody. Um, I have been studying some new information that's new to me. It's kind of new, I think, in the last few years to many people, that there's evidence that about our timeline, in that 1,000 years has been added in, and that there was no actual dark ages. And then there is all this evidence of a cataclysm that may have happened within the last 500 years that's referred to as the mud floods. And a lot of these very beautiful stone buildings that are around the world, lots in photographs, that are indicating that the narrative of the history that we've been told might not actually be true. And of course, because of what I've said about the Bible being written to us, I think, in a very special way, when I was listening to, there's this one channel, Autodidactic, another one, Reality Check, and then they're interviewing each other, and then when you find that one, you can find the other one, and there's this growing group, and there's some people studying, the history of the narrative of giants and looking at old maps, and so there's a lot of really cool stuff. Okay, so first of all, what I want to share is about the timeline. So I don't have the ability to actually show you this, on the camera, where I don't even know where okay, but this penny here that I have, I received a very small coin collection from my father, and he got some coins from his grandmother, so my great grandmother, and this is a farthing. Okay, now what is interesting is, with guarding this insertion of the 1,000 years, they have tracked it down to when they introduced the writing AD and BC. And before that, the way we wrote the year is they would put a J or an I or an X, depending on the language, in front of the year. And they said that a lot of what we consider the one was actually originally a J or an I. And on this penny, these are very common. They're super, super small coin. You can even go look online, look it up, look at images, and you can look at these coins. And the Autodidactic, if you scroll down, he has an excellent one on this. Anyways, this penny, I looked at it with my own magnifying glass, and the one is not a one. It is an I, a letter I, because Farling also has an I in it. And it was inserted. 1,000 years has been inserted. Okay, this changes a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. And I wanted to share that with you because I seen that with my own eyes. And I suggest everybody start taking, this is physical evidence, okay? And we know the victors always write history, okay? So now, how is this tying in to the Bible? Well, what is being hyped? This video I want to actually share with some of these individuals on their sites, okay? And so that's who I'm speaking to right now. Has anyone who's studying this topic noticed in the book of Revelation that it speaks about this great city Babylon? And it says, this is in Revelation chapter 16, that great city was split into 3 parts, and the cities of that nations fell, and Babylon the Great was remembered, and given her the cup of and like what it describes is this absolute, cataclysm. It says there was flashes of lightning and sounds and pearls of thunder, and there was a great earthquake, such as not been since man came upon the earth, so great an earthquake was it, and so mighty. Now, we have been taught that this is all metaphor, or is to come in the future as Christians. Okay, well, what if, just what if this cataclysm that is mentioned and prophesied in the book of Revelation is the cataclysm that caused the mud floods? And that it happened perhaps around the year between, say, 400 and 500, because in the book of Revelation it talks about the persecution against the early church, and that a judgment was put on Babylon. And there's the account of the two witnesses and how they had this ability to cause, fire and plagues, but then they were killed, and then these persecutors celebrated. And the other really curious thing about Babylon is it speaks about her being completely burned with fire, and that these 10 kings, okay, come out of that system, and those 10 kings completely destroy her. Okay, well, now there seems to be evidence that a lot of these ancient ruins, what did we have, is there was fires that took out a lot of these buildings, then the World War I and World War II, all in Europe, bombing everything into oblivion. What if the colonial age, was the remnants of that civilization that was far, they found maps that have this Tartaria on it. Okay, so what if Tartaria was this Babylon, and it was struck this blow, a cataclysm that really set that whole civilization back, but in the last 500 years. And now these empires, they all fractured, like these 10 kings, and they went out, and their whole thing was about refinding all the cities and all the abandoned communities and reclaiming them with their colonization, okay? And the fact that there's one of these star forts in Canada, in Quebec, and interesting, the French and the English had a war fighting over Canada and that area of the country. Is it because they were simply going back and trying to claim for themselves this infrastructure? Yeah. And then the destruction of the evidence is what Revelation is talking about, that they completely burned her with fire because they have tried to hide from us the truth. Okay? They've tried to hide from us the truth. Is that possible? Yes, it actually is possible at this point in time, because this evidence, this alternative narrative of history is really just coming out on a larger scale in the last couple years, and then boom, we just happen to have a planetary lockdown. Very, very interesting. So I'm really curious if anybody else is out there who's looking at this alternative narrative and then looking at some of the biblical accounts and prophecies and seeing if how they might line up. Because what's kind of got me excited too is some of these historians or these people that are trying to work this out with the cross of Henday, and they think that there's this cyclical cataclysm that keeps inundating our planet and kind of causing a reset. Okay, that synchronizes also with what I've seen with the Fibonacci being in the Bible, being in the book of Revelation and the book of Genesis. And so again, there's that hint of that code and then all of the cyclical pattern of the people being in one paradigm and going to another paradigm over and over again. Perhaps this is the deeper message that has been remnants of it contained in the Bible for us to prepare the group that are living at the time of this cyclical pattern, okay, of this, because Jesus talks about the stars falling from heaven and the signs, okay, and how can they communicate this to us, okay, I think is really relevant, and add to the level that there are malevolent and benevolent beings, whether they are from another planet, another dimension, humans, I don't know at this time, but we have a record when Jesus, the account of Jesus, goes in the wilderness and the devil tempts him, and one of the temptations was to bow down to him because he said, I will give you all the kingdoms of the earth. Well, how can the devil offer that to Jesus, okay, if he doesn't have dominion? Well, perhaps, the battle between Cain and Abel, and Cain as being the city builder, is the secret societies and everything, is the information, the advantage these ruling elites keep getting because they are in allegiance with Satan or the Satanists, and they know about this cyclical repeat, and they keep denying us, the mass people, the understanding of what's coming, and instead of helping us all survive, they have developed a way of sharing this information, and they go underground and they hide in tunnels or whatever, and they keep their position of power and authority over the world when this cataclysm comes, and maybe it comes in different intensities, so they never know how bad or light it's going to be, and then they create new timeline, new story, new narrative to everybody, and keep their positions of power and authority. We need to talk about this. We need to really, really talk about this. I got a lot of ideas about this, because remember, I told you I was friends. The universe guided me to be friends with a woman who was taken by the Satanists and groomed. And she was groomed to be a high priestess. And I'm going to tell you something she told me. More than once, she told me, they are experts at hiding evidence. She said the structure of what they do is geared totally to incredible detail to conceal evidence. So a particular story can be told. And I've been really thinking a lot about that, because Jesus Christ is called the Word of God. And I've been really thinking about that. And what do we do with words? We tell stories. Well, what if it's time to tell a new story, a better story, a beautiful story that is the counter to this narrative that we're finding evidence that is false, and that is part of what the Bible prophesies as is the return of the true story, and the rising up of the spiritual people, fortified with practical information, and real understanding of their spiritual capacities. And that's also something that the Bible has prophesied. I really hope that this is taken with consideration, because if this is true, then this whole thing about Babylon being struck and split into 3 parts and could be in the rearview mirror. Because I really sat up when I was listening to these historians, actual university trained historians, and they're saying that this year, the mid 1800s, is like a marker year. Well, I, not even knowing their work, not knowing anything, when I read the book of Revelation, when it speaks about this, a star falling from the sky and the abyss cracking open and smoke coming out and locusts coming out of the smoke like a great burning furnace, to me, when I looked, that landed with the discovery and implementation of fossil fuels. So, that really got my attention. That I already seen a historical event lining up in one of these, parables or metaphors of the book of Revelation. And so now there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's lining up with that. I'm not going to dismiss this. This has really caught my attention. I think we're on to something here, everybody. Yeah, this is notable because the world is shut down. And remember what I said. Remember what I said about the early church. They met in homes. They healed. They spoke truth. We're being, our mouth covered. We're being told not, they used to lay on the hands. They used to touch. Okay, and we're being told to keep apart. Don't meet in groups. Don't gather in homes. Okay, there's just a lot of incredible things coming to light all at the same time. And it's pretty exciting. And I think a lot more is happening. And then we realize, and I'm pretty darn excited about it. And it's possible that Babylon the Great is, behind us, rearview mirror. And the 10 kings are the colonizing empires. And we're well into it. We're well into it. That's an actual possibility. Well, give me some feedback on this. And remember, there's quite a few things to look up, but I highly recommend Autodidactic and Reality Check. He interviews him on there. And then there's some of the videos are like real, they're not so good, but you can hear what they're saying. And okay, folks, hope to meet you all one day, that everyone who's looking at this, and let's keep going. And let's write a new story. And let's tell a better story. Love you all. Bye.